I never knew this before I became a probation officer. There's lots of different environments that you can work in as a probation officer. I'm going to go through them right now for you. You can work in court, so you can be a court probation officer. When you're in court, you can work in magistrates court or crown court. There's magistrates court or crown court, and as a court probation officer, you are mostly going to be interviewing defendants. They either haven't been sentenced yet, or they have been sentenced and it's been adjourned for a pre-sentence report. But your job as a probation officer to interview them, to find out a bit more information about crime, what happened, come up with a suitable recommendation to the courts. You are providing a recommendation that will be read by the solicitor, it will be heard in court, the judge or the magistrate will read through that, and it will help them reach their decision about what sentence they should give. If you know about law and if you know about the legal system and crime, there are sentencing guidelines that the court have to follow. But your report as a probation officer can help them see what is the most appropriate disposal that is out there to be able to help them address the punishment, reduce reoffending, tackle rehabilitation and protect the victim. It is a really, really crucial component that you are as a court probation officer. Other probation officers, so in the community, do write court reports, but as the court probation officer, that will be your sole duty and you won't actually hold a caseload of offenders. A lot of people see this as a cushy job, so there's never any vacancies open. People really, really hold on to that because it is a different environment when you're not managing a caseload. I worked in court as an admin and yeah, I can safely say it is a nice environment to work in. Although Fridays get really busy because for some reason Friday's like major court day. I guess if things have run over from other days, it all builds up to a Friday. Court probation officer. Okay, you can then be a community probation officer, which is the probation officer that is the most general, it's one that's most in demand because you will be based in a probation office any town or city. Most towns or cities have them, so wherever you live, you've probably got a probation office. Google it now and that's where you'll be working as a community probation officer. You will manage a caseload of offenders. I've been told at the moment it's hovering around 40 to 50 in some areas. When I was there, it was between like 30 and 40. That can change. You are managing people from when they've been sentenced at court and from when they come out of prison as well. So you will also hold some service users on your caseload, will have been to prison and you will have to prepare for their release and they will be on licence. That is community probation officer. And when you are doing your trainee scheme, you will be based in the community. That's where your training is done. Okay, next up we have prison probation officer. So as a prison probation officer, so again, you cannot be here when you're training. It can only be once you're qualified, but you will be based in any prison. Again, Google where the prisons are so you can figure out if that's somewhere where you want to work. I have not personally worked in a prison, but I have worked alongside probation officers that have been in prison because we have to work closely together. And they have a really high caseload, over 100, because the management is a bit different. They don't have to see every service user every week. They don't have to actually manage the risk because the risk is contained because you're in prison. So it is slightly different. Don't be alarmed about the high caseload. The role will be slightly different. Okay, next up, you can work in the counter-terrorism unit. So probation officers would be looking after those who have been identified as more of a terrorist risk. I don't have experience of that, but I know that they often have specialist units depending on what is the government agenda, what they need to tackle at that time. So another one is personality disorder unit, probation officer. So it may be called something different now, but again, it's more psychologically informed and it's based on the agenda to address the personality difficulties that arise with a lot of people who are on probation or in prison. So you'll be more specialist trained in understanding and recognising and working with those with traits of personality difficulty. You can also be a probation officer who works in a hostel. We have special probation hostels. You will be managing your service users who are in the hostel. A little bit less of case management because you're going to have less cases, and there's only like I think one probation officer or two in a probation hostel. So again, that job is, there's not many of those jobs available. There's a lot of support worker or PSO jobs, which is the step down from probation officer in hostels, And there's also hostel manager as well, so that would be the next band up from probation officer. The next one is, they call it a QDO, so it's practice probation officer. So you are basically overseeing the probation officer's work. Then there is PTA, practice tutor assessor, who is responsible for overseeing the trainee probation officers. So there you have it, all the different kinds of probation officers that you can be. So as you can see, there is quite a wide range of options that you can go in within the same probation officer band.